Hey, Jim, one more question before we get out of here. This one was sent in on the Cult of Cornette Facebook group from Jeff Hood. Any memories of working at Notre Dame in Indiana? We did not get many shows up here.
Okay, short question. Short answer, no, I don't think I have.
All right, well, there's your question, Jeff.
Now, here's the thing. I would have to go through my WWF era books from, say, 95 to 99 to make sure, but I don't think I've ever been on a show there.
You know, we have so many questions from the Cult of Cornette Facebook group. Let's try to really quick blow through several in under 2 minutes, all right?
Sure.
Have you been officially, this is from Adam Craven, have you been officially served on the Rockacon lawsuit?
No, I have not, but I'm waiting with bated breath with my napkin already tucked into my shirt.
This is from Jason Adams. What was worse for the wrestling business, Vince McMahon invading the territories or the internet and dirt sheets?
Vince McMahon and the internet. The dirt sheets were for if you want to use the term, newsletters, were for a specific audience that sought them out. It wasn't casual fans being slapped in the face with them and forced to read them. But the internet accomplished that. And then Vince disrupting the ecosystem of wrestling was the worst thing that happened to the industry as far as not just being exposed, but being ruined.
This one's from Isaac Gresser. Was wrestling broadcast on radio before television? If so, how was it presented differently for the radio crowd?
Yes, it was, and it was presented differently because they couldn't see it. What? How the fuck? Yeah, what? The announcer still said, well, Thez has a headlock on Strangler Lewis, but you just couldn't fucking see it.
All right, Jim, from Angel Flores, what are some of your favorite Twilight Zone episodes?
Time Enough at Last, To Serve Man. Oh my gosh. Obviously, It's a Good Life with Billy Mooney. So many of them, and also the Howling Man is an underrated one, where the traveler lost in the mountains comes to the monastery and is given refuge there from the horrible weather, and then falls prey to the sob story of the man that's locked inside the cell, and he lets him loose and then realizes that he is indeed let the devil loose upon the world again. This, of course, was after, in the days after World War II, the monastery had locked the devil up and he couldn't perpetrate his evil anymore. But after he was let out, then this guy had to go on a fucking search all around the world to find and recapture the Howling Man.
Jim Nathan Steele would like to know, ask Jim if he remembers the preacher praying that Jesus would stone cold stunner the devil during the invocation at Paul Lee's Wrestle Jam several years back. Any other real Nature Boy Paul Lee stories would be great as
well, when you started that at first, I was like, that's a whole lot of words I recognize, but what the fuck are you saying? And then when you said Paul Lee, I thought you meant Paul Lee Dangerously, but no, Paul Lee, Nature Boy Paul Lee. Paul Lee was a guy from Georgia that actually did some jobs in the early days of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, some of my TVs, and he has been running his hometown intermittently for the past several years. I've been down there to one of his shows, and he has somewhat of a following down there. He gained like 50 pounds of muscle. He was a little skinny thing when he did jobs for me, and then last time I saw him, he was fucking... he looked enormous. So, but what was the question now?
The question was, ask Jim if he remembers the preacher praying that Jesus would stone cold stunner the devil during the invocation at Paul Lee's Wrestle Jam several years back.
Okay, well, I went to one of the shows, and I know that after the national anthem, they started doing some kind of praying, and I was out at the gimmick table, and I didn't want people to think that I was in favor of or lending my approval to having a prayer out in public before a wrestling show, so I didn't listen to it and went in the back.
Jim, you are not a religious man, but if you're going with the idea that Jesus Christ needs to deliver a finishing move on the devil, that would be the ultimate finisher, would you go with the Stone Cold Stunner?
I think I'd have to go with the crucifix, wouldn't you?
See, that's awful.
It
You know what?
worked.
I set you up
You know,
perfectly, and it's horrible.
it worked on him. I would think he would have learned it and learned a new hold and used it on others.
Who was the last guy to win a big match with the crucifix?
Oh, God. Well, a crucifix can also, that's another name for a backslide. And those are still fairly common.
Well, it's a specific kind of...
The regular crucifix is the arm up over the arm and the leg up over the leg, and you go sideways. But there's still, I've heard the backslide termed crucifix. So you never know.
What do you think?
It's a variation.
What do you think of Kerry Von Erich winning the world title with a backslide?
If I was Flair, I'd rather take the backslide and 1, 2, 3 than the fucking claw and have to fucking just pass out from a guy squeezing my head.